Hi guys, it is a spectacularly gorgeous day here in the end times of paradise in East Bumblefuck, New Mexico on this gorgeous spring morning, Saturday, March 25th, 2017. I'm here in Doomsday Chicken Coop bringing you my weekly Clueless Moron Roundup rant. Good God Almighty, guys. I have 31 examples from today's mainstream media about how this planet's collective IQ is heading directly into the toilet. Obviously, I won't be able to get too deep into any one of these stories, so let me dive right in. Sorry, little dog. I'm going to set you down. Now, this first story I'm leading off with, I'm going to come back because this is my annual broken record rant. So I'll come back with a fuller rant, but it certainly can lead off any clueless moron roundup rant. Right here in the mainstream media. Earth Hour 2017. 5 reasons to be hopeful about climate change, wildlife, and the environment. Okay, this next story, speaking of broken record rants, here's this word hope. Hope showing up again here in Christian Science Monitor. I've already mentioned this once or twice. I'm mentioning it again in my Clueless Moron Roundup rant, and then I'll come back to it on Monday. Hopeful combo. World economy grows while carbon emissions stay flat. There's good news from the climate change front. Hoorah! Alright, what's on the minds of our oil man, Secretary of Oil Deals, Rex Tillerson, on his role as Trump's new Secretary of State? Quote, "I did not want this job." There you go. I did not want this job. I did not seek this job. My wife told me I'm supposed to do this. I was supposed to retire in March this month. I was going to go to the ranch to be with my grandkids. We all wish Rex Tillerson would quit his job as our Secretary of Oil Deals and go back to his ranch to be with his clueless moron grandchildren. I've mentioned this one once or twice, but it always bears repeating. The Trump administration wants to kill the popular Energy Star program because it combats climate change. So in Washington Post, we can only assume that it's on his list of things to kill because of its strong connection with climate change mitigation. There is no other reason to possibly explain why even Donald Trump would want to kill the Energy Star program. But of course, I love this one from the LA Times. Their comment on Trump approving the Keystone Pipeline yesterday, among other things. Take it away, LA Times. Keystone Pipeline and other Trump energy policies could help swamp Mar-a-Lago. This is, looking at having a laugh that Donald Trump's energy policies are directly helping to send up sea level rise, to put his billion-dollar, whatever it is, mansion down there in Florida underwater. Yes. Anyway, I've got a lot to cover. Thank you, LA Times, for explaining that. From Mar-a-Lago to the state of Maine, bill would bar discrimination toward climate change doubters. This is a Republican Representative Larry Lockman from Maine has introduced a bill that would limit the Attorney General's ability to investigate or prosecute people based on their political speech, including their views on climate change. It would also prohibit the state from discriminating in buying goods or services or awarding grants or contracts based on a person's, quote, climate change policy preferences. Okay, let's see. From climate change news, what is going on over there with the new and improved Donald Trump USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture? The No Shit Sherlock headline from the USDA. USDA drops plan to test for Monsanto weed killer in food. The USDA has quietly dropped a plan to start testing food for glyphosate, the world's most used, the main ingredient, that's what they mean to say, in the world's most widely used weed killer. The key ingredient in Monsanto Roundup. So it looked like last year they worked out this deal with the EPA, that the USDA and the EPA and all of them would start investigating Roundup in our food supply, and that seemed to be going along smoothly. I've actually reported on this, and then Donald Trump shows up in the White House and the plans are quietly dropped to investigate this. Okay, what is our assassin-in-chief up to in Iraq this week? More than 200 civilians killed in suspected U.S. airstrike in Iraq. Let's see. The U.S.-led coalition in Iraq is investigating whether it was responsible for an airstrike in West Mosul that local civil defense officials said killed at least 200 civilians. It would be the highest civilian death toll from an airstrike since the battle against the militant group Islamic State began more than 2 years ago, and among the deadliest incidents in modern warfare. There you go. So Donald Trump, in his first 2 months of office, I guess, already in a race to kill more civilians in U.S. airstrikes than his predecessor, that Nobel Peace Prize winning war criminal named Barack Obama. So I guess now Donald Trump can join the list of war criminals, including Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Baby Bush, Daddy Bush, Ronald Reagan. I think you get my point. Let's go over to sub-Saharan Africa. This is your old, I'm getting in touch with my inner Texan. I will let you decide. I'm just going to read the headline in the first sentence of this article, and you decide why it is included in a clueless moron roundup rant. Cloaked in rags and dust, Somalis flee looming famine. Mariam Ibrahim, her 7 children, and 2 neighboring families were the last to leave their village in southwestern Somalia. That's all I need to say about that. Okay, let's go next door. You know, this international criminal court. I've heard about this, one of these courts where I think about 90% of the people they are trying are war criminals from sub-Saharan Africa. Of course, the ICC completely avoiding the war criminals from the United States of America and which in Europe, which make up 95% of the war criminals on the planet. But anyway, I'm getting into another rant. ICC awards $250 each to Congo war crime victims. In its first such decision ever, the International Criminal Court on Friday awarded $250 as symbolic damages to each victim of a former Congolese warlord, a sum swiftly dismissed as meaningless by those who lost their homes and loved ones in a militia attack on their village 14 years ago. So after stories of famines and war crimes and whatever else in sub-Saharan Africa, you decide why this story was included in an eco-Nazis clueless moron roundup rant. New vaccine could prevent thousands of childhood deaths. There you go. A new vaccine is safe and effective in preventing a deadly diarrheal disease that kills hundreds of children every day. According to a new large trial done in Africa, the new vaccine could save 450,000 children who should never have been born every year in sub-Saharan Africa. So we can have 450,000 more children dying of starvation, or if they make it to age 18, drowning on a refugee boat in the Mediterranean Sea. And that was Bill Gates behind a lot of that one, of course. That old architect of the depopulation agenda, celebrating 450,000 more sub-Saharan Africans per year. Okay, let's see. I did get a chuckle out of this one. Just leave sub-Saharan Africa, go over here to Mexico. Dozens break out of Mexico prisons. Dozens of inmates escaped from a prison in Mexico on Thursday by using an underground tunnel that officials believe took months to dig. Yes, there you go. So anyone who believes for 1 minute that these and that these are cartel members, these drug cartel members, anybody believing for 1 goddamn second that the jail guards were not in on the take on this, pull your head out of your ass, you clueless moron. Not that anyone listening to this would be that stupid to believe that this shit didn't go down without the prison officials getting a cut from the drug cartels with the prisons in their pockets. From Mexico to India, India gives the Ganges and Yamuna rivers the same rights as humans. There you go. Two of India's most iconic rivers, considered sacred by nearly 1 billion Hindus in the country, have been given the status of living entities to save them from further harm caused by widespread pollution. This is one of these high courts ruled Monday that the Ganges and the Yamuna rivers be accorded the same status of living human entities, meaning that if anyone harms or pollutes either river, the law would view it as no different from harming a person. This has reflections of Earth Hour in it. Okay, I have to admit, I got a huge chuckle out of this one. Just one more reason not to be a clueless fucking moron with a smartphone. Hackers claim to have breached hundreds of millions of Apple accounts. The hackers are currently attempting to blackmail Apple for up to $100,000 before they start remotely wiping millions of iPhones. You go, hackers, you go. Okay, from there to North Dakota. North Dakota governor approves concealed guns without a permit. There you go. North Dakotans will no longer need a permit to carry a concealed weapon after Republican Governor Doug Burgum signed legislation lifting restrictions, a victory for gun rights activists that came a week after South Dakota's governors vetoed a similar bill. So now gun owners will only need a driver's license before they can carry a concealed firearm in public. Okay, this is another chuckle, like the iPhone chuckle. This is about these goddamn GPS things. I have never used a GPS in my life. Never have, never will. After woman gets stuck in desert for 5 days, here's how to avoid being led astray by your GPS. A college student ended up stranded in the desert for 5 days after she says her GPS led her the wrong way, and she's not the first. This is Amber Van Heck, was driving to the Grand Canyon when she says her GPS told her to turn down a road that did not exist. She ran out of gas and was stranded for 5 days in the desert before she was finally restricted. Before she was finally rescued. Yeah, restricted. While GPS may be a marvel of modern technology, AAA spokesman Robert Sinclair said it sometimes can lead you astray. Quote, "These devices have taken people to non-existent roads, taken them to cliffs. I was using one once looking for a hotel, and it took me to a cemetery. Yep. Anyway, let's look at, as long as we're in, let's just stay with the girls for a while. From that girl getting lost in the desert, let's go to Kansas. Chronic affluent Kansas shoplifter gets prison time. An affluent suburban Kansas City woman with a history of shoplifting was sentenced Friday to 1 year and 7 months in prison for her theft of tens of thousands of dollars of items, which she then often peddled out of her nearly $1 million home. So we'll see how many this high-end women's clothing she can peddle from her prison cell. And this is for any clueless fucking moron cop wondering why the public despises cops. Any clueless fucking morons listening to this rant, and cops listening to this rant. Woman tasered after calling cop honey settles for $20,000 while police deny any wrongdoing. A Florida woman who sued police after she said she was tasered and slammed to the ground by officers has settled her case. She was given $20,000. She got pulled over for nothing, and she called the officer honey, at which point she was tasered. This reminds me of my own cousin in Florida a few years ago. What she did on Christmas Eve, this cousin of mine who's 5'2" and weighs 110 pounds, got some bullshit ticket, and what she did is she touched the officer's shoulder and said, "Merry Christmas, officer." She started to get back in her car. She was slammed face down on the ground, had his boot ground into her back. She was handcuffed, hauled off to prison for assaulting a Florida police officer, spent Christmas Eve in jail, and it cost my uncle, I think it was $7,000 to get her felony record of assaulting a police officer expunged from her record. And these fucking cops wondered why Americans have no respect for the law. Fuck you, you fucking cops. I got no use for a fucking cop. Anyway. Okay, I don't know where I am in this. I'm just going to go down the headlines of these without even getting, I think the headlines speak for themselves. Man dies after electrocuting himself by charging his iPhone in the bathtub. Man burns down his parents' home and kills 3 pets while trying to exterminate ants. Florida man's book burning sparks wildfire, destroys homes. Chicago teen apparently gang raped on Facebook Live while nobody reported the crime. HBO producer admits he dragged overdosed mom of 3's dead body outside of apartment after night of partying. Alaska residents warned to give grumpy moose their space. Crocodile attacks Aussie teen who jumped into river on a dare. Think your groceries are expensive. Japan has $27,000 melons for sale. Firehouse welcomes 6 babies in 7 months. We've been having a baby shower every month. This couple is expecting 2 babies because they are both pregnant at the same time. Husband accidentally donates wife's wedding dress to Goodwill. Wheel of Fortune contestant speaks after epic fail. This is, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. So in the Wheel of Fortune a few days ago, it was, the clue was a streetcar named Desire. The only letter missing was the M. In the word named. So he sat up there, got a streetcar N-A blank E-D Desire, and he chose as his next letter the letter K, a streetcar naked desire. And his opponent called for the letter M to win the several $1,000s. And finally, here are all 137 new emoji to hit iPhone and Android this summer. There you go. I have never used an emoji in my life. The only 2 emoji I need are my
"No shit, Sherlock." Bullshit detected. Take precaution.
That is really all you need. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this clueless moron roundup rant, and before I get out to my manure tea soaking in my garden, I'm going to come back to my broken record annual rant about Earth Hour. For those of you who have not heard it before, you're getting ready to hear it again, whether you have or not. For this clueless moron roundup rant, bye guys. Set you down. Now this first story I'm leading off with, I'm going to come back because this is my annual broken record rant. So I'll come back with a fuller rant, but it certainly can lead off any clueless moron roundup rant right here in the mainstream media. Earth Hour 2017. 5 reasons to be hopeful about climate change, wildlife, and the environment.
Bullshit detected. Take precaution.
Okay, this next story, speaking of broken record rants, here's this word hope. Hope showing up again here in Christian Science Monitor. I've already mentioned this once or twice. I'm mentioning it again in my Hi guys, it is a spectacularly gorgeous day here in the end times of paradise in East Bumblefuck, New Mexico on this gorgeous spring morning, Saturday, March 25th, 2017. I'm here in Doomsday Chicken Coop bringing you my weekly clueless moron roundup rant. Good God Almighty, guys. I have 31 examples from today's mainstream media about how this planet's collective IQ is heading directly into the toilet. Obviously, I won't be able to get too deep into any one of these stories, so let me dive right in. Sorry, little dog. I'm going to assume that it's on his list of things to kill because of its strong connection with climate change mitigation. There is no other reason to possibly explain why even Donald Trump would want to kill the Energy Star program. But of course, I love this one from the LA Times. Their comment on Trump approving the Keystone Pipeline yesterday, among other things. Take it away, LA Times. Keystone Pipeline and other Trump energy policies could help swamp Mar-a-Lago. This is, job. I did not seek this job. My wife told me I'm supposed to do this. I was supposed to retire in March this month. I was going to go to the ranch to be with my grandkids. We all wish Rex Tillerson would quit his job as our Secretary of Oil Deals and go back to his ranch to be with his clueless moron grandchildren. I've mentioned this one once or twice, but it always bears repeating. The Trump administration wants to kill the popular Energy Star program because it combats climate change. So in Washington Post, we can only clueless moron roundup rant, and then I'll come back to it on Monday. Hopeful combo: world economy grows while carbon emissions stay flat. There's good news from the climate change front. Hoorah! Alright, what's on the minds of our oil man, Secretary of Oil Deals, Rex Tillerson, on his role as Trump's new Secretary of State? Quote, I did not want this job. There you go. I did not want this